Hey family, it's Tasha MAMABEAR prepping. So you already know what time it is. Get your drink, pull up, let's talk about it. Welcome to the channel, welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to talk about a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I talk about this topic all the time. I think that it's the one area that if you prepare for this area very intently, you'll be covered down for a lot of different scenarios that can happen and come your way. Specifically though, I want us to think about it in regards to what we're being warned is going to happen this summer, right? All types of articles, all types of news reporting that this summer is basically going to be super extreme heat, drought, and all these other elements that are playing into it, and that we should expect, blackouts, right? And what's interesting is they are spinning it, I guess you could say, that it's not going to be like intentional turnoffs, but they're spinning it as if we're going to have actual failures in our grid because of these elements, because of these things happening. They are expecting it to fail, right? And to have different failing points and not be good. Now, the good and bad about that is, it's one thing for a company to say, hey, we're going to regulate you, we're going to turn off power, we're going to ask you to keep it at a certain temperature, or we're going to, raise the money that you have to pay for it, like whatever the shenanigans, right, that they would be doing possibly to turn it off, right, to regulate it, to say, hey, from 2 to 5, there's not going to be any power, right? And do grids like that to help offset it and for it to be not overloaded, right? That's been happening for forever, right? This is a little different because we're being warned that there's actually going to be failures. Now, it's not a surprise because our grid systems are trash, you guys. We have not taken care of our grid systems like we should. Okay, they're not protected, they're not upgraded, they're not in a way or been kept in a way. It's just like our roads and bridges. It's no different, right? Money has not been spent in that area. It's just like Texas. The only difference with Texas and what could be learned from that is that that was in a cold environment that it happened. Okay, the grid failed in a cold environment, and I think 200 plus people died overall in that situation, you guys. So this goes both ways. This is something that you should prepare for both winter and summer. Right now we're talking about summer because we're about to go into summer. Okay, you should concentrate on, remember I talked about the other day, seasons. So let's say real quick why. I just already said extreme heat, drought, wildfires, you guys, is going to play into this. Always does. Certain areas more than others. Parts. So obviously we've talked about it's just overall complete trash because we haven't been taking care of it the way that we should. And even now, if there's maintenance, there's things to be done. Can we necessarily get the parts needed because of the supply chain crisis? Because a lot of stuff comes from China and they're on lockdown, right? They don't have their people in the factories and the different places that produce these things, okay? So can we get that stuff? Can they even get that stuff in a timely manner? I am sure parts is an issue for all types of things, okay? So I'm sure that our grid and being able to do different maintenance is no different than anybody else trying to struggle right now with that aspect. And I already mentioned this, just overall, our system is weak, it's fragile, it's not in a place to say, okay, I can take this, bring on the heat. No, okay, so they're warning, several places are warning. Take it with a grain of salt when, your regular news places are warning you about this. I don't know what you can take from that, whether you believe it, not believe it. But again, you should prepare for grid down. So let's get into it. And I want to talk about concerns after I say the list. We're going to talk about concerns. Actually, we'll do concerns now. Things you should be thinking about. Medical machines. These are like my must-have concerns overall that I think about. I think about medical concerns, specifically any kind of machines, medical machines that have to be ran by power, that are plugged in, anything. CPAP is a pretty popular one, or normal one, right? A lot of people have that, but there's all types of machines, right? breathing machines, oxygen machines, what are those things being ran by? Hygiene is a huge one. How are you staying clean? That is huge. That is huge. That's huge. That's more than just mental, okay? But that's physical. That's diseases and sickness and rashes and different things that start to happen in your body when you don't keep it clean, okay? And then the third biggest concern with grid down is your food, and protecting your food specifically that's in your fridge or any kind of freezers, okay? So keep that in mind. All right, so let's get into the first one. The first one is power sources. Now, again, a lot of people would say, it doesn't matter, it's grid down, we don't have power, we're just going to live without power. We don't need power. If there's anything we're going to charge, like our phones or, a laptop or something like that, we'll just charge it in the car and that's it, right? Or we'll charge it, keep it charged. And then that way, when it goes down for 3-4 hours, it's not that big of a deal. We still have a charge to do things. And so it's not a concern. Okay. And I'm not saying that, I'm like some kind of bougie, you have to have power. No, but there's certain things that you're going to want to be able to do. Some of our cook sources as options take power. To have maybe a little bit of lighting or a different option for lighting, we have power. Mostly it's for our fridge and freezers. And thirdly, it's for our CPAP, to run a CPAP machine. Because like running food and things like that, there's other options. For me, I like having multiple ways to do all the things I'm going to talk about on the list. And power is one of those ways that I can do a lot of those things. Okay. But I have backups to the backups of the backups of ways to do things, right? Think about your medical priorities when you're thinking about power. Basically, what is the least amount of power that you could go without, right? Can you go without plugging lights in? Can you go without, you don't have any medical machines? Okay. What is it that you feel like, for me, those fridge and freezers is a top priority. They have to be ran in our house. Now, some people would be like, well, we don't have very much food in there. I don't care. We're going to preserve it, whatever the plan is, right? But I don't know. Everybody has their own priorities. And so you're going to have to figure out what your priority is for your power. Shoot, you might not be wanting to turn on the car, wasting gas to be able to charge some cell phones and some tablets. Okay. Something you might have did last summer. Like, okay, yeah, go out there, charge your phone. This summer, you might be like, no, baby, you can't charge nothing out there, man. You're wasting my gas. Okay. Next thing is cooking. So basically, how are you cooking with grid down, with no power? What does it look like with no power? Your meals, the type of meals you're cooking. What are those options like I just talked about, right? For me, having a small skillet and a, like a hot plate and a small rice cooker that I can plug into the cook power generator is easy and simple, and it's not too different from what I already do in the kitchen, right? Those are normal things that I use in the kitchen, right? So mentally and ease of cooking and all that doesn't really change, okay? However, if you don't have power or there's other ways that you plan on doing it, we also have a little stove that's ran by propane and butane, right? We have several different stoves that are ran by different fuels, different stoves ran by alcohol, by sternos. We got the barbecuer, we got the smoker. So what are the things that you have? How will you cook? And do you have the things needed to be able to use that cook source, right? Mostly, I mean, fuel, right? And then having options, okay, of different ways that you could cook, in case things flex. You have to be able to flex in case things don't work out. Something doesn't go quite your way. You're not dead in the water. You just move on to the next cooking option that you had kind of set aside, okay? Second thing, how do you keep clean, right? When it comes to cooking, you need the right utensils, the right pans. You need the right, how are you cleaning? Are you doing dishes on regular dishes, or do you have paper products, right? Do you have your plates, your bowls, your spoons, knives, forks, all that stuff already set aside to be able to serve people in, okay? Or cups to drink out of, or what are the, do you have to-go, throwaway type items that you can cook the food in? Even if you're doing one pot meals, you know, a lot of people are like, okay, at a minimum, you have that pan that you have to now wash, or a utensil that you have to wash that you use to cook it. Yeah, maybe it's only one pot, but what's your plan, right? Do you have the water for that? Do you have the space to do that? Will you be okay, you know, washing that pan? And I know a lot of you right now just said, well, what does water have to do with grid down? And we're going to talk about that at the end here, okay, as a kind of an extra, okay? But how are you doing dishes? You know, how are you getting about? You know, cool, the water's on, everything's fine, cool, right? Okay, cool, nothing changes. You could go ahead and continue to wash dishes like normal, and you're just a different way of cooking the meal. Okay, right? We're going to get to that. Next thing is hygiene. Talked about that earlier. Super important. Again, how are you staying clean? Again, water's on, everything's fine. Everybody's taking showers or baths, right? You got your sink for brushing your teeth. Everything is fine, okay? Until it's not, okay? That's still a grid system. Water is still a grid system, okay? So just hold that thought. Laundry, right? How long does this last? You know, if we're only talking about a couple hours, or we're talking about something short, which to some people would not be short, but a couple days, you know, and the longer that goes, you're going to have to figure out a way to do laundry. And what does that look like? What are people wearing? Game plan literally on what people are wearing, how many times they're wearing it, what items have to be changed daily, right? Being on top of that laundry game in a way that you probably normally wouldn't be on, right? I assume the kids, for the most part, at their ages, right, are changing their underwear and their socks every day. Really, they're changing all their clothes every day, okay? Kills me, right? They'll wear a sweatshirt like this, and then it for 2 seconds, and then it goes in the laundry, right? So you have to really think that through and be on top of that laundry game, so that you're downplaying how much laundry you have, and realistically you're only having to wash certain things that you know have to be washed. But what does that look like? How do you do that? Do you have the items needed to be able to do laundry off grid? Again, if we have water, no big deal, everything's fine and peachy. It's just a little bit of no power for a little bit. Cool. Keep moving forward with doing your laundry and you're good to go. Okay. This is a big one for this summer. This is why they're talking about this in general. Cooling. So we've talked about this before on this channel. Cooling your home has got to be a priority for this summer coming. Yes, we're talking about preparing for, you know, the electric part of it, the no power part of it. But if you don't have electricity, now you don't have an AC running, now your fans are not running, immediately you have homes that are going to have casualties in regards to folks, you know, overheated, overexhausted, heat strokes, all of that, those medical concerns that happen when people are not hydrating enough and it's hot outside and they're out and about. That stuff is going to possibly kill people. People die from exposure all the time, okay? And you have folks that have no idea, you know, heat stroke, and they don't know any of that stuff, right? They just know it's going to be stinking hot, right? So preparing for that stuff. Medically knowing, you know, first responding type stuff to see the signs, to know when somebody's has some heat exposure. Having plenty of water there, any kind of medical stuff that you need, right? Just think really hard about all the aspects that have to do with cooling. How are you going to cool that home, right? How are you guys going to cool yourselves in the evening without having all the windows open and now you're a soft target for somebody trying to break in? How are you cooling it during the day? Do you guys have some kiddie pools, a bigger pool for the kids? Get your slip and slides, get your spray bottles that you can put some water in, right? Get figure out your sheets and your towel situation and how much extra you have, and getting those wet and putting them over a nice window when it's breezing through. If you have power source, right? Pull it out now and see which fans does it run, okay? Ours little one runs several fans, okay? So it shouldn't be a problem if you get a smaller one to run some sort of fan, okay? You're definitely going to have to try it out though to see. But even my small equal flow River Max, it runs the box fan, right? The big box fan. It runs several of the little hand clippy ones that you clip on like a desk or a shelf to blow on you. It runs all the little like mini size fans that we bought for grid down. So it runs that stuff, but you got to make sure what you got runs your stuff. Okay. And if you don't have that, you don't have the capability, what other options can you get? Maybe there's battery ran fans, right? Maybe there's solar fans that can charge outside and you can bring it indoor. You've got to figure it out, you know? Figure out how you are going to be able to cool yourself, okay? Because it is going to be a hot one. It is going to be, this is something we're even preparing. I think if you're in those southern states, it's going to be hot, 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 hot. I think even southern like California, hot. Even up by us, you guys, our winter lasted way too long. That's always a sign for us that it is going to be blistering hot. Now, I don't think we're going to have to deal with the kind of heat that other folks are, but I'm totally expecting and I'm ready for any kind of blackouts, no matter the length of time, okay? Next thing is security and fortification. You know, you lose power, you possibly lose internet, you lose, you know, your Wi-Fi, your cloud, your security system that's totally hooked up to the grid, to Alexis and all this other stuff you want to hook it up to, which I think is crazy. But in general, even if you just have a basic thing, it's hooked all up, right? And so now it doesn't work, right? Maybe it falls back on, you can still see, but if you have a way to power it, maybe you can still see something. But to me, that goes down, we go dark. And so I don't count on our basic security system for grid down at all. Our thing is CCTVs, easy to power, small console, low energy, low power, and halfway cheap, and you can get them all over your property. So again, though, it takes a power source. So if you don't have a power source, how are you seeing? What do you have? Okay. At a minimum, we have a ton of, solar ran, motion sensor lights that we have in different areas all around the house already. Okay. So they're already ran off of solar, and those will continue to light up and work, during grid down, right? They won't be on all the time, so everybody's like, oh, their house is lit up like a Christmas tree. However, they will come on if somebody's walking up to the house, walking up to the back, walking up to any kind of dark areas. Those lights will pop on, and will help alert, okay? And because everything's dark, it's even more noticeable that, hey, a light just came on, okay? There's other things though, right? All the things for your entry points. We've talked about this till I'm blue in the face. So please make sure you're taking a look at some of these fortification videos I've done. All types of stuff that you can do that are grid down options for your points of entry, your windows, your doors. You can put on the chirps, okay? So when something is opened, you can hear it. But it's very important that you get these things needed for fortification security, because you have a lot of people that if there's down power for any amount of time, people get restless. People see that. When I say people, I'm talking about criminals. And then they're going to start to take advantage of folks that they know don't have, possibly security up because they don't have power, right? Next thing I have is lighting, right? A lot of people, again, look, you leave all the windows open during the day, right? The curtains open during the day, you can see. Here, it don't even get dark till 9 o'clock for us. It's crazy, right? So we have daylight until it's time for bed, okay? But if you're not, it gets dark way sooner. And it's like, okay, how do we got to be able to see while we're in the house in the evening, eating dinner, relaxing, trying to do any kind of entertainment, and it's dark in there. How are you doing that? Again, you can do that by power. My favorite is not by power. My favorite is oil lamps. We have oil lamps all over, but we also have tons of other options, tons of battery ran, LED lights, lanterns, you name it. We have 500 billion lantern types, okay? So that's what I like to do. If something was long term, I might string up some lights, some of those outdoor lights, Christmas lights, that type of thing, strung up around the whole house where we're walking. And then that could be plugged in to one of the generators and solar generators, and then that's it. It's just easy day. Have a low level of light in the house. That's not crazy. Again, security, letting people see that you have lights like that. You might want to string up red Christmas lights, right? So you have red lights up and people can't see those so openly, when, let's say, a curtain gets moved and people are like, oh, they have a light over there, right? So you want to be concerned with what people see and what they start to assume you may have, right? So lots of ways for you to be conceal that in a certain way. Okay. Let's see. Paper products. I talked about that already with the cooking stuff, your meds and medical supplies again. So we talked about these extras, right? You got to think about these other grids if they go down, right? And hospitals is kind of one of those things, you have grid down. Hospitals, they have huge backup generators. But what happens, if something is long term and now it's a problem and they're not taking anybody, they're not helping anybody, places close, right? You're not going to be able to just go to your doctor anymore and just get random things. So medical and medicines and heavy medical supplies matters during grid down because there's a very good chance you're going to be doing stuff yourself. Okay. Obviously, if this is just onesie twosies here and there, 2 hours here and there, and it's not a big, what I call a big event, that stuff's going to be up and running. It's going to be fine. It's just that if this turns into something where it is a long-term thing, and then imagine if anything is just a pandemic, medical crisis happens when this happens, okay, what that is going to do to that and in your ability to do things. So it's just smart to get the things, to get the medicine for all different types of reasons, okay? Get your medicines. Next thing is comms. You've got to, possibly there's no internet, right? Possibility you can't get information. You can't just get on your phone and it just works and you're getting all this news feeds and all this information, right? Possibly it still does, but you have to depend on all these companies. First of all, you have to depend on the internet being up, all these companies having their backups and being able to still run. And do they have power in their area? And again, if this is periodic and it's not across the country as a whole for any amount of time, then you should be fine, right? Should be no big deal. Maybe you don't have internet for a while, but then it comes back on when you get your power back on, right? And it's just a local thing. However, you're still connected and you're connected to your phone, Verizon, whatever. And if they have backup, power or whatever it is to keep their stuff going, then maybe, you have no problems at all. Okay. But just think this stuff through. And comms is important so that you have a grid down. You have a different way to get receiving information. You need an AM FM radio. If you do not have that basic prep and you're watching me now, you need to go order an AM FM radio off of Amazon. They have all types of ones that crank, that take batteries, that solar powered, so you can charge it out in the sun. It takes like all these different ways to get it to work. Okay. So you need to get a basic AM FM. They're $20, $30. They have raised a little bit, but you need to have that. Okay. That's if like anything happens. That's like a very basic preparedness item that you need to have. I'm not telling you get some fancy ham radio. I'm telling you, you need a basic AM FM radio so that you can ensure that you're getting information. Okay. And I get it. A lot of people, folks just really tend to be negative when you say things, right? And they're like, well, I'll just go to the car and listen to the radio. And again, you can, but you just have no idea the other effects and other things that may be happening where that's not possible, or where you're like, I don't have the gas to do that, right? Or whatever the case may be. You just can't assume stuff. You have to have options, okay? What if something happens to your car? You don't even have your car, right? You need to have options for survival and to be able to do this. Next thing I have is some stuff to think about. Okay, so one was the extras. Okay, so power goes off, water should still be going, sewer should still be working, right? Hospitals should be okay. They have their backup generators. What else did I have? Oh, your gas company. A lot of people are like, no big deal. We have gas and we always have gas. When the power goes out, we have gas. So we have our gas oven stove. We have our gas heat for the house, you know, whatever, right? We have our gas ran AC running, right? They're confident because they have gas. A lot of people, who cares? The lights are off. We have water, we have toilets. But I would tell you that one, we get threats from enemies all the time that they're going to hit us with certain hypersonic missiles that can destroy stuff or directly go after our grid systems. And power is just one grid. You have the water grid that has been attacked in recent years several times. You have the sewer, which is a bad day for everybody if that goes down, okay, for an amount of time, okay. And so you have to think about a lot of these things have systems. Locally, you have your water company, right? You have your sewer company, whatever. And pieces of those companies are ran off of power, right? Now, I'm sure, and you can do the research where you live, your companies, what's their plan? What do they have in place already? But pieces of those systems, you guys, are ran off of power, okay? And so therefore, they will continue to work, meaning you will continue to get water flow. You may continue to get gas flow. You may continue to get some stuff, but because those pumps and different things that run those systems now doesn't have power, if it's for a long period of time, will start to fail. And at some point that gas runs out, you know, the water runs out. You're just utilizing what's in the system already on its way to you. But at some point, if they're compromised, you have to worry about that might not be there forever. Now, if we're talking about short periodic blackouts, you're not going to have to worry about that. But you should be worried about what is your plan should those other things fail, whether it's a recourse of, you know, the power and the power didn't come back on and now those are starting to fail, or whether it's because they are directly attacked, okay? They directly fail individually, okay? You should be prepared. That's why you should have your emergency toilets for your sewer. What is your sewer system? What is your plan to get rid of waste? What is your plan to be able to take your animals outside and their waste, okay? There's a lot of things to think about that could turn really, really ugly if you're not prepared for these other grids to go down as well, okay? So think about this. Water, water, water. This is a huge prep for me. You have to have water. You have to have water in your home. You need to have water in your home because there's a lot of things that could happen, like fallout or other things that could compromise water around you. So you can't just be one of these people, well, I'll just go out and get it. I'll just go out to this river and I'll just get this water and I'll be fine. No, you need to have water in your home. Okay, you need to have water in your home, drinking water. You need to be thinking about other non-potable water for other things, right? Like possibly gardening, right? Keeping your plants alive, right? Flushing the toilet, things like that, okay? Other things that you may have to do, like laundry, washing dishes, drinking water for you, kids, elderly, anybody living with you, all the pets you have, indoors, outdoors, right? What does that look like? It's a lot. And so water, I cannot stress enough, water, 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 water. If you live somewhere where you can catch water, okay? You need to be doing everything you can to get ahead of water, okay? We're already in a drought. They're talking about it now because it's going to be a heat wave, but the drought didn't go away, you guys. This country has severe places of drought, okay? I think it's Mead. Is it Mead? I think it's Mead, man. It keeps going down. They keep finding dead bodies because the water level's going down and you have these bodies of water that people over the years have tried to hide bodies in, right? And so it's exposing people's secrets, right? I think it was Mead. I might be wrong on that, you guys. That was a couple of weeks ago. I read that they keep finding bodies because the water level and the drought is going down so low. Okay. So just think about it. Think about easy meals, easy. And in this case, not a lot of heat if you can, right? Easy to go. This is the perfect time for MREs, any kind of to-go meals like that. If you have to cook, then cook a one-pot meal that is quick and easy so that you're not having to cook over that heat source for a long period of time. There's nothing worse than when it's super, super hot outside and you're trying to cook food even on the barbecue grill, right? All that heat's coming up from the charcoal or the propane and the food cooking. It's super, super hot, right? And that's not fun to do when it's scorching outside, right? So think about that too. Do you have a cover to cover and to shade? Even if you get some camo, just go get some camo to put over you, right? Something to shade you, a tarp. Think about those things now in case you're having to do stuff outside, and how you shade yourself, or shade areas, or shade over windows, or whatever the case may be, right? Whatever you can do to get ahead of that. And then think about, if you haven't already, we talked about this in the beginning, what is your fridge freezer game? If I didn't have a way to power it, my fridge and freezer would not be full. I wouldn't keep them full. Okay. I would be, and if they're full now and you don't have your power source, I would be right now, if you haven't, getting your pressure canner, getting your jars, get your lids, get all your stuff, and start pressure canning all that meat and different stuff you have in your freezer, right? We have a way to power it, but still I get uncomfortable keeping like just large types of meat in there. I'm like, okay, if it's like some throwaway food, like some frozen pizzas and like that type of stuff, keep that in the freezer, right? And yeah, you could try to cook through it, but I've already have a certain risk of, okay, I know that I'm going to lose a certain amount, and I'm okay with it. But there's certain things in there that I absolutely don't want to risk, and I will power, and I will make sure that we are able to keep it. Freeze a lot of butter, freeze a lot of meat, right? And so that stuff will be protected. But if you don't have that, I would be getting hot and heavy on canning everything that I could, so that those levels are much lower. A lot of people keep a full freezer, and then they get on YouTube and they're like, well, my plan is this is what you do. You just pressure can all of it. And that's a good plan. But don't underestimate how long it takes to can, and you can only fit so much in the canner, and stuff is defrosting as you speak. And you're just running risks of botulism and salmonella and just different things happening, right? Foodborne illnesses, right? And that whole process. So, and it's a lot. And to me, if it's grid down, I'm not going to be wanting to be stuck and tethered to the stove, for the next 4 days, because I have to do this when there's going to be other things that I'm going to be wanting to be concerned with, like fortification, locking down our property, making sure nobody can come in here, making sure people can't see stuff. How do we figure out our lights? What lights are we going to put up? How are we going to have light discipline at night, and making sure that nobody can see we have lights, right? Where are we cooking? Are we cooking indoors, or are we cooking outdoors? Is there any kind of violence happening? Is there any concerns? That's the type of stuff that I would rather be spending my time than stuck to the stove canning. Okay. And I get it. It takes a while to can, right? People are like, well, you could walk away. You have a time, right? But you're never wanting to walk away too far from your canner. You shouldn't, for safety reasons, right? So I don't know. Some last minute tips. Okay. Cause I know we're kind of long. The way you can start doing this, if you haven't really started this yet, you haven't started getting these things and you're feeling overwhelmed right now, is just take a pen and paper and write down, chronicle your day. Okay, I get up, I go to the bathroom, I take a shower, I brush my teeth, I obviously wash myself in the shower, then I got the kids breakfast, I made coffee, I took the dog out to pee. You're chronicling everything that you're doing for the day, from when you wake up to when you go to bed. And in that, you're going to be seeing, okay, where would I do this stuff at? Okay, grid down. Okay, brushing my teeth. Okay, great. I can still do it inside. There's water. What would I do if the water goes? And then just right out to the side. Okay, I'd go outside. What do I need to make that smooth, right? So that's what I mean by just walking through what you're going to do for the day, and then figuring out how you would do it, right? How would you cook all those meals? What do you plan on using to cook those meals? What easy ingredients and menu have you come up with that's super easy for during this time? Okay. For us, it's MREs. It's easy stuff. To be honest, when the power goes out, I try to not cook at all at first, right? I'm big on keeping my resources. That's why when the power goes out here, we don't panic. We just kind of like, okay, the power is, we start the timer and kind of watch that, because what we're trying to figure out is, this is a long-term thing, or is this just a couple hour thing? You know, a few hours thing's no big deal. You just don't open your fridge, freezer, and you guys are just chilling out. Maybe if it's time for dinner already or something like that, yeah, you're figuring out what you're doing for that. Okay. But it's something quick and easy. It's okay. We're going to have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches tonight. You know what I'm saying? It's very, very easy. And then we move into, okay, this is a little bit more serious. It's lasting a little bit long. Okay. Maybe we're opening up MREs. We're doing something that's still not cooking. And it's easy, right? This is where you'll game plan like what you're doing. But I'm telling you right now, when grid happened, I'm not cooking. I actually stopped cooking, you guys, because I want those resources. I want those things for when it's really for real grid down, meaning it's long term. Like we've had to adjust now. There is no more cooking indoors. It's definitely like another cook source. You're not on your stove. You're not on your oven. And it's a longer term thing, right? It's a regular basis to be cooking on something else. Okay. And it helps save our resources, not panicking and saying, oh, pull out everything, right? Pull out all those lanterns. And you know, you've got to think smart and long-term game. I'm always thinking long-term game, okay? So if it's something we really don't need and we're just dealing with a little bit of no power, it's no big deal, right? And then remembering your pets, right? Remembering any animals you have outside, your pets, your elderly, if you have grandma, grandpa living with you, anybody who has illnesses that are a little bit different, right? Do you have all the stuff that's needed for that person and their illness, right? Do you have backup meds? Do you have your holistic backup meds? What would you do? Do you have all the medical supplies if somebody, I don't know, broke their arm, something happened, right? So be thinking about all the extra people in your life and animals and stuff like that, and making sure that you're stocked and prepped up for them, right? If you're talking about, hey, how do I prepare like actual preps? I need a list of actual supplies. Again, you're taking that daily chronicle, and that's going to tell you what you need to do, right? Do you have toothpaste backed up, or do you guys only have that one tube in the house? So grid down happens. Now stores are closed because it's grid down. You can't go out and get no toothpaste because everything's closed. Banks are closed. You can't get your money. ATMs are shut down. You can't get anything. You can't get gas. You can't get anything, right? Because it's grid down. There's no power. And so now you're stuck with that tube of toothpaste, and it's almost out, right? It's been rolled all the way down and you didn't have anything. So that's what I mean by that. You use that to build your list of preps that are needed, things you need to stockpile, make sure you have. Okay. Let me see. I think that's enough babbling, you guys. I think that's enough on my notes. I hope you guys had a great weekend. It was pretty sad for us. Memorial Day is not, a happy day, happy Memorial Day. There's nothing happy about it, right? Very, very sad, right? Thinking about all our comrades, all our friends that have passed away over the years. And even if you served and you don't know anybody personally that passed away, it's sad thinking about all the sacrifice and the families, and it's just horrible. And then there's sacrifice that people don't think about. There's suicides that happen with service members. There's service members that got blown up and they're still alive and they're dealing with that trauma. There's just so much heartbreak, okay, when we talk about Memorial Day. And it's not some cool, day. Yeah, we got twisted yesterday. Yeah, we barbecued. But that's just the way we cope. That's just how we learned, you guys.